And above some points that we have into consideration when we organize events here in Miami, I know there are many of you who are in other states that have organized events too, but I'm going to talk from my experience. We have been in what LifeWave 7 months and we've done 5 events. Out of those 5 events, those have been from the biggest to the smallest event. And we've been learning from all of them and taking experience. So eventually everything is perfect, but we know that it is part of the process. So I wanted to share with all of you a few key things that have helped us to organize these events. So to make a commitment about the date of the event, we said that we had to have an accountability partner. In this case, Rochelle, she talked about it, of the importance of having an agenda and having the dates. So this is complied with. If that is not in the calendar, it is very easy that with life and worries and occupations, family, children, those dates go away. So at the end of the year, I said, I'm going to organize one event a month and put it in my calendar. I'm going to do it the last Thursday of each month. And I still don't know where, how, or anything. But once you have the date, it's something that we know is going to happen, yes or yes. So that was the first thing I wanted to share with you, that it is important to have that goal of how many events do you want to organize? How many events are recommended? There's no limit in events. I like smaller events. So what I think is like optimal is to do smaller events, like for example, in your house, over coffee with 2, 3, 4, 5 people once a week. So afterwards, take them to those same people that you invited to those coffees, is to invite them to the next event, which would be the big event that the whole team is organizing. Invite them. An event always must be closed with an invitation to the next event. So that is another one of the things that we always have present. Like we always put a date for everything. This last Thursday, for example, we did an event here in Miami and we announced that next month, which would be March, we would have the next event. So that is key. The second is to search for a place. We started the first event, I remember we did it at home, and we realized that it's a bit more complicated when we talk about parking. So those are details that you have to take into consideration. Is it a place which is easy for you to arrive and park? Is it easy and accessible? Here I have a code in the door for the parking, which are also little distractions that makes your event be delayed because people take longer to arrive, etc. So it's always a teaching and a learning. And I know that when I want to organize it in my house, I shouldn't invite so many people. I should do it smaller. Afterwards, we organized it in another place and it went super well. It was a small place, like where the recording studio, and it was really good. And afterwards, we did the big event in the hotel with 300 people. And we've done a bit of everything. And what we have seen that is important is to do things as simple as possible with a lot of organization. So when we search for the place, we try to not spend too much. We have a budget. My goal is I won't spend more than this amount because we don't want to, for the money, we don't want to make it an enormous investment. And the other thing is a flyer. I will send it afterwards in the chat with a bullet point, a list of all the things that I do when I'm going to organize an event. So you can have it for you and you can use it for your events too. I prepare a flyer. Truthfully, I do whatever I can with what I have. So my last flyer was a picture that I took myself on Canva. And with that same flyer, that same photograph, we organized and we published it. If you're good in Canva, if you're good editing, go for it. Prepare it, be creative, something that calls your attention. It's funny because in that one that we did here, we did it all like our way because it's what I know what to do. I'm an accountant, I'm not a designer. And somebody from my team said, "You won't sell that." And the event was full. So truthfully, it doesn't depend on a flyer. It depends on the love that you invite people, the energy that you have, the desire that you invite people to the events. But, as I was saying, if you can go all in and do a super flyer, that's amazing. One thing that is super important is to have a registration link because you don't want the day of the event to come and people being outside. There's always a limit of people. Am I talking too fast? Put it in the chat, especially the interpreter. Am I speaking too fast? So the other is a registration link. It's important to have a registration link if you don't want to go have people outside of your venue. Every place has a limit in people. Some of them charge if you are above that limit. Thank God the last event was in an amazing place and we will continue there. We had availability for 75 people and 120 registered and they were flexible. They left people standing up and they didn't make it a problem. But we know that in most of the places, they don't like that, especially if there's something to drink and so on. So how we do the registration link? Do and I do it through the CRM. We put it on the platform, we upload the flyer and everything, and we do an automation. I understand that that is not accessible for everyone right now. And I want to give you an alternative to that, which is Eventbrite. Eventbrite Eventbrite, everybody has access to that. It's super easy to use. I'm going to see if I can do a video of how to upload a flyer to Eventbrite and an event to Eventbrite. I actually did one myself that I wanted to show you. I will show you in a minute of how to have an event uploaded in Eventbrite. It's super easy and you can do the same thing that we do. There is a field that you can put, which is a field that you have to fill out, and it's invited by. And there you can fill out who invited you. It's mandatory. Also, the brand partners, the ones who are already in the business, who are already partners, we charge them $5 donation. This is like something symbolic. $5 we know is nothing, but it is like a commitment issue. A commitment feeling that you're there, that you're giving something, and we charge those $5 and all the guests come for free. So what you see in Eventbrite, you have the option of putting a donation there. So you can write a note which says brand partner $5 and the guests are free, for example. And you upload the flyer, a picture, all the information, the time, the age, always 18 upward. Let's see what else. This place is amazing because there's enough parking space. There's no issue with parking. So what this happens with the links, you send them with the same flyer, you copy the link and you invite them. If you do it on your Instagram stories, you can upload the link there and people can register there. If it's an Eventbrite, you have the app. The app is called Eventbrite Organizer. And there's two. Eventbrite, when you purchase events, tickets, and so on. And there's one called Eventbrite Organizer, which is the one that you can create these events on. So you go to that application, and once you register, you have all the information there, the name, the phone number, who invited them, etc. And when they reach the venue that day, you search for them, you sign them in, and you register. You check them in, and that's it. When you create the Eventbrite account, You can put your bank account when you charge the $5 that goes to the bank account. But I'm not going to talk too much about Eventbrite right now because afterwards I'll record a video for you. Okay. So what you do, you just register, you just check in the guests or also the partners, all of them. We check them all in because the availability is for everyone. So we want to know how many people are going to be at the venue because if the brand partners don't check in and afterwards we have 20 or 30, that space that they're occupying in the room. So everybody registers, but only the brand partners pay. What is the purpose of these events? The purpose of these events is connecting. Okay, now it's not the same to be on Zoom. I very much like in person. I like to see the person, hug her, give them a kiss, talk to them. The connection that is created in these events is different. There are also people that, don't connect the same via Zoom and you take them to a presentation, you invite them and they connect. If not, they connect with the speaker, they might connect with someone from the team, a leader, we take pictures of each other. So it's a different dynamic. I love in-person events and I super, super recommend them. Almost all the teams, the American, North American teams organize in-person events. You don't have to complicate yourselves. We've done from small events to big events, like the one that we did at the beginning with Rochelle, Jay, the whole team, which was more than 300 people. What percentage enrolled? That's a good question. We have to insist a lot in registering because look at what happened in this last one that we did. We registered 80 before leaving the house and printing the list. It was 83 people, and in total, 120 arrived. So you have to insist with registration because if not, you might have surprises. Yes, a registration link. Afterwards, when I open up for Q&A, and I have guests that I brought to answer a lot of questions about the patches. The other one is to coordinate what you're going to ask. We don't get complicated. We just give them coffee, water, and tea. We put water for tea, coffee, and water. I think that's enough. Afterwards, you see, if it's in your house, you can put a few bottles of water or something easy. I would like to not complicate events unless you want to do a special event. But if you want to invite people at home and present the opportunity, you have to do it as simple as possible so they're sustainable in time. So I like to have it organized, but as simple as possible. If you have banners, you can bring the banners. We always have a banner at the door and all the banners that we have inside of LifeWave and the patches. Check that the place has the sound equipment, the microphones, visual a screen to project the presentation. Also, we've heard that if at some point we did something small, don't get complicated. You have the presentation on your phone. You can have your presentation there and people are reading it in EDRIP. We've seen that also with the North American team. I love to copy the North American team because they're not like Latins. We all get complicated and we want to do everything all the way. They do it super easily, and I love the way they do it. So I like to adapt myself to that. I don't get complicated. If something doesn't work, we send it to Edwork and everybody has a presentation on the phone. When you start doing events, you start realizing what you need, what you can improve. And in the last event, I realized that what people were waiting for, you always have to put half an hour before the scheduled time, okay? At least here in Miami, if you want to start the event at 8, You have to say that you're starting at 7:30 because people are not going to arrive on time. They're not punctual. That's that. There's nothing you can change. So my flyer always starts half an hour early. I have that clear. And since there are people who are punctual and arrive on time, it's not fair for them to just be sitting down without doing anything. So we put videos on the screen about the patches, about the corporate, about previous events. So they're not just sitting down there, not doing anything. But I thought that during the next event, and something that we're going to start implementing, we're going to do some games at the beginning, like an icebreaker. We do this in the church events and it works super well because people, they trust, they're not shy anymore, they're not sitting down, they interact. So we do a few games while people arrive and we start the event with a prize, a raffle, some patches, or something that you have to give out to those people. So that is a way that you can start creating, that easiness and that gamely motivational activities until the presentation starts. What else? In all the events, there has to be testimonials. In this one, Mike, I love Mike's presentations. They're really easygoing. And he always says that testimonials are super important. In this event that we had incredible testimonials, but everyone's testimonials should be not 2 to 3 minutes like Janetsi. I say, hey, darling, I need you to organize a testimonial today, but you only have 2 minutes. And today I was seeing her testimonial and it lasts like 5 minutes. So you have to know who you're asking testimonials and give them a limited time in the testimonial. Super important because a person and from different things. For example, we had a testimonial from a woman who had inflammation in the foot area, and afterwards, another one with neck pain, and another one with the kidneys, another one like Janetsi with stomach problems in pregnancy. Because every person is going to connect with different testimonials. So that is super, super important. What else? The enrollment documents. When the presentation finishes, they're always going to say, please be directed to the person who invited you to register or to know more or any question that you have. There's some registration documents in the This Is It page in English and in Spanish. I'm going to ask the people to put it in the Telegram chat, and you can print out these documents with all the different packs. And the suggestion is for you to have that available, but they won't give it to people from the beginning because you don't want them to be distracted, seeing how much the packs cost and so on. This is given to the leaders. Let's imagine that I'm organizing the events and I have a few leaders. We have Caro, Rochelle. I say to the leaders, how many people did you invite? How many people arrived? And or the leader might be correct. The leader could be the best way for him to come with those printed out documents. And we're also going to have extras there to give the leader for them to be the person that you invited, the one that gives you that document. In the end, the person fills it out, fills out the information, the credit card, and afterwards, calmly, they sit down and do the registering. Why, today I spoke to a person that called me and said, America, how do you know where people come from on the left or the right leg? So it is important for you to take that time because first of all, you need to check, like we said in all the trainings, your virtual office every day. So you have to know where you need those new people, if on the left or the right, depending on your goal. If you want to be manager, you need two at your left and two at your right. If you want to be director, you need three on each side. So you need to see where you're missing people and strategically register them on the side, which will be more favorable to you. So those are the benefits that you have, for example, by reading that, because at that time, everybody wants to enter LifeWave and everybody wants to register and the card isn't passing and this and that. You have a lot of people waiting. That happened to us in the big event, the first one we did. We had tablets, we put different tables, but everybody wanted to do it at the same time. So it did take us time in registering people at the moment, and you miss out on talking with many more prospects which arrived. So it's better for you to say, fill out this paper, and as soon as I get home, I'll call you, we'll register you, and I'll give you your ID and everything. But give me that moment. And that works perfectly. All the teams that have been there for a longer time do that, and I super recommend it. As I said at the beginning, you always have to go and organize an event with the date of the next one already programmed. In the events, you have to invite from event to event. We had that one. Now this one is confirmed. We're going to have one on Thursday, March 20th. We were going to do it on the 27th, but the room was not available because I always said it was going to be the last Thursday, but the room wasn't available. So we're going to do it on March 30th. So that March 30th, I already have the room confirmed for April, and I will invite you in April. So when the date arrives, for example, there is a big one of This Is It in Orlando in August. When August arrives, we will program and do promotion to the biggest one. In August, we will promote the conference in California. So we go event by event, and that's where there is growth and people don't disconnect. They know there's somewhere that they can assist and that they can invite, especially. Invite them to the next event. So follow up. After the events, you're always going to have that list. If you register, if you take all these steps, you're going to have that register. There you're going to know the importance of check-in. There you're going to know who arrived and who didn't arrive. So the people who did not arrive, but they did register, and that time they were interested, maybe something happened, they couldn't arrive. What are you going to do? And the next day you're going to call them. You're going to say, I saw that you registered to the event. I didn't see you, you didn't arrive. What happened? Look, I have the recording. I'm going to send it to you. Or look, I'm going to send you a video of 5 minutes, 15 minutes. You send them Rachel's video, and so that person doesn't lose it. And also people who were in the event that didn't register, you want to continue following them up. And for the people who, I think I was like for a month sending the invitation to the people who I was interested in. They registered in the team. They are a couple that I love very much. I know them since many years ago, and we had organized the business of network marketing before with them. And truthfully, see the value in the event without complicating yourself, something easy and sustainable. Put the date, and afterwards, I will send you all the points for you to have the details that I checked. I don't know if you have any questions about this before going to product questions. Evelyn, do you have a question, darling? You have to unmute. Your microphone is open. Okay, yes, Evelyn, if not Maria. Maria Claudia. You can hear me, Rosie, right? Yes, we hear you. Yes, I'm here. I'm here. America. Everything that you're explaining is super interesting. I've heard you with attention. I have an aesthetician exposition here in Miami in a week and a half. And I already have a booth there to present my product, which is uniforms. But there is a very important niche here with the aesthetics and the use of spas. I saw Rachel's video talking about that. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's excellent. Talking to a woman that is working the business who is a spa owner. And I thought that I wanted to present the patch in this exhibition. It's a massive event. Of course, until the day of today, I actually thought about it. Who could I reach out to? I don't want to take the time of the call to talk about this for you to let me know because I have never done this, but this is a great opportunity of having the aestheticians massively in this event. Yes, write me a message and everything I can help you, any resources that I can give you. There's my cell phone. Anything that you need. Thank you. Okay, now we have Rosie and Manuel here. Rosie and Manuel are doctors. I love this whole part about events and the business. I love it. That when we talk about product, I am very simple. People ask me X39, they told me when I got to know about the X39 that it helped me for everything. So X39, put it on, it regenerates your stem cells. The other one is the SP6 because they say that it controls hormones. So I always ask, it's not about the copper peptides. I don't ask about illnesses, nothing. I patch my kids. I even patch my kids with X39. And I always patch my children. My children, I don't care if they're 2 years old and their stem cells are amazing at 100%. I stick the X39 on my kids. And actually, my daughter, I've been using LifeWave on her when she had her menstruation pain. And one day I didn't have LifeWave and I just had X39. And I said, I'm going to X39 you. And it did the same effect. So X39, X39, and I never stopped that. But I know that people like to know. I know that doctors like to know. And I know that Manuel and Rocio studied it. They were the ones that I say that I insisted, and I would call them and send them invitations and invitations and invitations until they studied and they understood the whole technology. They understood the patches, they studied the scientists, and I'm going to ask them to answer your questions because they're the ones who know. Does anybody have a question about the patches? Let's see who else. Okay, who wants to ask questions? Leila, open up your mic, darling. Hi, yes, good evening, good evening. Okay, I have three questions, okay? I have seen pictures of people who have had a surgery, but I see that they patch themselves with 3 or 4 patches around the area. Can you do that? Well, truthfully, you can use as many patches as you want, but since we have to do this as simple as possible, what David mostly recommends under his experience is for us to use X39. With one patch that you put on, it is enough. Also, the ideal thing is to patch yourself in the recommended areas, which is the back of the cervical column, cervical spine, and 2 fingers underneath the belly button. Why? Because that's where the studies were done. And when you talk about the clinical point of investigation, it's very important to have a defined parameter so anybody can reproduce the studies. So the ideal thing would be to use it in those places. Now, you can put it on whenever you want. In any part of your body, you're going to be well, it's going to have the same effect, and it's going to work. Sometimes psychological effects help. What we get from X39 is not a placebo effect. So it's not something that we're imagining or is making us react in a different way. It's a physical response of the metabolism from the stimuli of the light that the patch reflects. So with one that you wear, it will be okay. If you want to put it on where it hurts or the pain, there's no problem. And you can just wear them on the classical places and we will have the exact same results. Now, it's not good at the beginning to talk and talk and talk about the patches. And afterwards, when you learn about the product, you trust in it, you have time with it, now you can start selecting different patches to help you. But truthfully, the success of the company is with the X39 because the most important thing is to improve the levels of stem cells, which are the ones who are going to repair the tissue on any part of the body that is hurt. due to specific effects of inflammatory effects and substances that are produced called cytochemics and that attract stem cells just like the cells that defend your body. That's why the result can happen in any part of the body where there is inflammation and illness. Excellent. Thank you so much. Can I go to the next question? Yes, of course. Okay, when you take vitamins and so on, there is a place that they say that you have to leave it in a dark place so the patches don't so the vitamins don't uh get worn off. Well, what about the patches? Well, the patches have to be in a fresh place. But there's no real conservation instructions. Obviously, you shouldn't leave them in the car at high temperature or exposed to the light because they work with the light. If you simply have them in their sleeve in a place where there's no humidity or no extreme heat conditions, it's fine. Okay, this is my eighth day that I'm using it. Sincerely, until the moment, I have not felt any difference. They told me that maybe something might be happening in my body, but I still haven't been able to feel it. And I would like to know when you patch yourself, what is the minimum time that you start noticing the patch and the longest time that you can start feeling something? Did you have any previous pain, illness, or physical special thing? Oh, if I told you everything that I have, and in those things that you suffer from, you haven't felt a difference during these days? No, because sometimes what happens is that when you have a lot of physical issues, there is so much discomfort that the perception, not the effect of the patch, but your perception dissipates of improvement or of change. There is not a time limit. Most of the people that we have seen personally have started to see results in 15 minutes, half an hour. But what David Smith says is that you can see results in 1 week, 1 month, depending on the condition that the person is in. And truthfully, there are many things which are happening inside our body that do not produce apparent discomfort, but that is more important to manage than something that is apparent for us. And it also depends on the attention that you give to that discomfort that you have or that specific situation. But changes can occur from 15 minutes to 3 to 6 months, especially the important changes, like, for example, the changes at a heart level, at the stronger tissue level, the greater tissue that happens in a more prolonged time than when you measure, for example, like reverting the age of the heart or the changes that people who have cardiovascular illnesses have suffered in their heart. But truthfully, the other recommendation that they do is that you have to use the patches depending on the decades of life that you have. For example, if you're 40 years old, to use it at least for 4 months. If you're 60 years old, at least 6 months. And if you're 80 years old, at least 8 months. But in general terms, there is a sensation of well-being and the sensation of improvement that occur in the process. We have to be more alert to this to see the changes happen. There are two fundamental reasons that this might take longer and the benefits of the patches might take longer. The first is that people don't drink enough water. Or water is super important for the metabolism to work. Some people drink between 6 and 8 glasses. And the other important thing is that the person must have copper because the patch is going to stimulate a production of copper glycinate. And if you don't have enough copper in your system, the patch isn't going to give it to you because the patch doesn't introduce nothing different than the reflection of your own infrared light. So it would be good to drink a nutritional complement with copper. Yes, excellent. Because I have thyroid issues, it's too slow. My thyroid also, I have stones in my gallbladder, also issues from the monthly periods. I get it every 2 weeks. So maybe I'm looking more into the most in depth symptoms and I don't look at the little ones where maybe I have felt changes. Yes, of course. And there are things that are not going to produce discomfort. For example, you don't see a change in your thyroid if you don't do a thyroid test because you're not going to have a specific sensation of change. Or, for example, in the gallbladder stones, if you're not having a very strong pain in the gallbladder, and I hope you don't have it because it's very painful and you would have to have a surgery, then you're not going to feel anything either. So it's not things that produce a lot of symptoms, but they have improved when you check yourself. There's a lot of testimonials in the group of people whose thyroids have worked much better thanks to the patches. No, I'm incredibly impressed with all the testimonials, but I want to be a testimonial. My son and my husband are also using it, and a friend who has a lot of health issues also is using it. So I want to have my own testimonials to be able myself to communicate this, to sell and involve people to be in the business. Okay, perfect. And let me recommend you right now that you're talking about all this, that the patches are not a medication and they're not going to cure absolutely anything. They don't cure. They're not medication. They're not transdermic. They don't have anything that is going to cure in a way. You're simply giving your body, your organism, and your defense system the perfect tools for them to heal. But if you do need a treatment, something specific, remember that no patch is going to be changed for a specific treatment. Only that in the moment that you're using the patches, you're going to start seeing how you improve, and probably your medication intake will be lower because your tests are going to be better and because you're going to feel better. Thank you very much. Thank you too. Thank you, darling. We have a lot of questions, so let's be a bit briefer because we want to reach the most possible. We have hands up. Let's assist them first, and then we have a lot in the chat. I'm going to try to answer as many as possible in the chat. Let's see, who do we have here? We have Janetsi, Alejandra Mata. Let's do this in this order. Janetsi. Hi, doctor. What a pleasure. Hi, Janetsi. Hi, hi. I have a patient whose mom just gave birth, and the mom was thinking if she should immunize the baby that she just had, vaccinate her or not. And she was asking if the glutathione patch disintoxicates the body also from the heavy metals and all that. And basically, that is a problematic or conflictive part of these vaccinations that the newborns get. So, would it be recommendable for a newly born baby in that period of vaccination to have the glutathione patch to disintoxicate the body and improve the immune system? What do you think? Look, there's no reference to that because they haven't done studies with children. That is why we cannot recommend it, and much less with newborns. But I'm going to be completely sincere. I'm 42 years old. I've been 42 years old as a doctor. I wouldn't let any of my kids, I wouldn't accept that any of my children would have a kid that wouldn't get an immunization shot because immunization shots have helped humanity from disappearing practically. And there are illnesses that have disappeared thanks to vaccines. And unfortunately, there are illnesses that are reappearing, like, for example, measles here. Like when that girl that had measles in Miami-Dade school, it can be very severe because they can have a sclerospirifaditis, which is a very severe illness of the brain, and the person can be limited for the rest of her life or die. So my first recommendation is to continue the medical vaccination schemes that are established and studied. And we don't have to experiment on our own. When you have an investigation, we will leave David and the investigation team study that. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Alejandra, darling. Hi, good evening. How's everyone doing? I have more than a question, it's a concern. I have a customer who has a spine surgery, has had a spine surgery. She's had a stroke. She was doing really bad. Her feet don't work well, and she started using the patch. And for example, she put it on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and on Monday, her blood pressure went up really high. And she said that the only change that she did was the patches because she was doing great in her blood pressure and she had a very high elevation on her blood pressure. I told her that this could not be because she didn't put anything in her body. There's no drugs, there's no medication. So maybe she just found out about her blood pressure. She had that unbalance, but she said, could it be possible that this could be due to the patch? Yes, look, there is a phenomenon that we call correlation, which is random. A person puts on the patch, they trip, a car runs over them, and they say that it's because of the patch. That happens not only with patches, but with most of the things in life. If that person had blood pressure alteration, she was probably hypertensive. She was going to have them anyway. Now, the patch is no vaccination against anything. So people wear the patch and they get a cold, and then they're like, oh, I got a cold because of the patch. I have a cousin that happened to her, and she said that she never had colds, and now she was having colds because the patch had made her immune system weaker. It has absolutely no reason, and it's not logical at all. On the contrary, if she wouldn't have had the patch, that cold would have been much worse and much more disabilitating. So don't worry about that and don't start discussing because people hear what they say. We know what patches do, and we know that they don't do anything that produce any harm. So there's nothing to worry about. And that's what we tell them. It's casual. Maybe she could have bought the lottery and won it, but it wasn't because of the patches. We're not going to say that if you wear the patches, you're going to win the lottery. Of course, thank you very much. Thank you, Marta. Hi, good evening. I would like to ask, look, my mom is 93 years old and she's not ill, but she does have a weird sleeping habit. She sleeps all day and she wakes up to eat. She's always hungry. And during the nights, she's awake. Oh, but she barely drinks water. That's another one. It's really difficult for us to make her drink water. I would like to know if I could patch her with the X39 or if there is any other patch that you could suggest for her. Look, the recommendable thing would her to have the X39 during the day because the X39, even though it does regulate pain, it gives energy. And you can complement it with the Silent Night, which I think is the one that you put it on at night and she will probably start sleeping much better. The other thing is that this also happens with people like with children. If you let them sleep all day, she's going to be awake most of the night. So I don't know, there's a way of entertaining her during the day for her to be a bit more awake, especially when she doesn't sleep at night. And that way she'll sleep at night. But it's part of the normal changes of the brain. But one of the specific effects that the patch has is to decrease the inflammation in the brain that happens with the years and with the loss of stem cells. So she will probably benefit using it. Use it, and I think we're going to have a good testimonial with your mom. They give her a medication called olanzapine, or 5 milligrams, olanzapine. Yes, you can give her that same medication. There's no interaction, there's no interference, nothing. Okay, so it doesn't matter if she doesn't drink water. Well, try to give her as much water as possible because it's crucial for her. And it's one of the characteristics of the aging process related with dementia and with illnesses at the end of the life that you are not thirsty anymore. Older people aren't as thirsty as when they were young. That's why they lose hydration, and a lot of health aspects get complicated due to this. Okay, now I have another question. I have an aunt who has an illness called Fabry. And what it does is that they're missing an enzyme, and that enzyme affects their vital organs. And now she has a pacemaker with a defibrillator, sorry, and she's about to start her dialysis, and she is waiting for a kidney transplant. You can recommend them to her. There's not going to be any problem. There won't be any interaction with the defibrillator or the pacemaker or anything. Obviously, we don't know what level of improvement she's going to have because we don't know how much damage the lack of that enzyme will have produced, but it's possible that she can improve. And if she doesn't improve specifically on the enzyme, she's going to feel better and with more energy and more able to work. X39. Yes, X39. Thank you. Let's see. Anna. Anna's the next one. Yes, thank you. Good evening. Just a quick question. Look, they are asking me, a person is asking me that has arteriovenous brain malformation. And I told her about X39, but which other one could they use? I think it's the best one. Now, this is something serious, okay? That many times you do need surgery or endoscopic surgery and that kind of things, but she's not going to have any counterindication and it's not going to improve and the malformation is not going to disappear with a patch either, but she's going to have a better quality of life. It's very important to remember that the most important thing of the patches, specifically X39, is that there is a process of anti-aging, of reversal of the aging. And that is enough for you to truly use it and for people to benefit from it. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, darling. I have Clara here. Hi, good evening. Thank you. I have a question. My father is 95 years old. He has recurrent urinary tract infection and macular degeneration. So I wrote to the group and I asked for what to do, and they gave me a protocol. Is it necessary to use a whole protocol or to just start with LifeWave and the glutathione? Or do we need the whole protocol and do it once and for all? The complete protocol. Okay, look, the protocols are designed since before X39, okay? The protocols have a direct relationship with acupuncture points, which were used because of the effect of the light in those specific places for whoever knows and how to apply acupuncture. But I think he would benefit mostly on using X39 that is going to stimulate the immune system and probably will lessen the frequency of urinary tract infections. Of course, with all the careful in the world, carefulness. You don't have control of your sphincter, that type of things that are going to have more risk of infection, but you are going to benefit and have a better quality of life. In the molecular part, there's a degeneration. If you have enough time to use the patches, suddenly you can improve because stem cells can help you with that process. Okay, thank you very much. I would like to let you know that we are in the company since August of last year. And I took the testimonials from other people when I started to see the result of the patches because I didn't have anything that I thought I had to improve. I didn't have any pain. Nevertheless, I did have a mental activity which was impossible for me to deny that I had it. And when I started using it, because I haven't stopped using it, especially the X39 during this whole period of 7 months, I started noticing changes in my eye vision. Since I was 40 years old, my vision started to be worse. I started to need to use glasses and so on sporadically, but I've started to notice that it's reverting. And another thing that amazes me in a good way is that right now I'm 63 years old. And I was very sad because my hands started to have a lot of spots on the skin, and definitely my spots have started being erased. They have been erased, and I have very, very clear that it is happening because I know exactly how many spots and stains I had, and I didn't like them, and they are erased. So definitely, we have to give the patch their time to be able to use it. We have to wait for enough time to go on so every organism every organism starts feeling the benefits. Don't expect this to be magical. Many people feel it immediately. Like when I had other testimonials, a niece of my husband, her hip pain went away immediately, and that was amazing. But also other people took longer. And if you want to live enough to see those changes, you have to use the patch enough time consistently. Trust, be faithful. The technology is spectacular. This person was sent by God with an imagination and incredible knowledge for him to develop this, but we have to have the time to be able to start seeing the benefits. So all of us that have less than 90 or 8 years old, we still have quite a good record to have a better quality aging process. We have 5 more minutes. Okay, we have Gerardo here, and afterwards we finished, and we promised Rosy Manuel that we will do a call. We wanted to, supposedly this was going to be 1 hour of Q&A, but a lot of people talked about events, so we're going to have to organize another call for a whole hour answering questions about the patch. Gerardo? Hi, good evening. I would like to ask, I have a person in the company who has a special condition because she didn't grow and she's around 40 or 45 years old. And she started using the patches, and after 2 hours, she started feeling pain on her legs and her hip. And the first day she put it on, she had a lot of back pain too. I imagine that this can be what they call a curative crisis, a healing crisis, but how to identify if it's a healing crisis or if it can be another situation? That is my question. Well, look, truthfully, with that time, a pain that starts during that time, I would have a lot of doubts in thinking that it's related to the patch, right? Because there is no mechanism written that says that in the process of cell migration and so on, you feel pain in such a little time. You have to check out how the person is doing, if she already has pain in her spine, what movement she has, what activity she's doing, if she's injured. But I wouldn't think that there would be pain using the pads in such a small time or any extra pain. So what I would do is to just leave it that way and continue trying it. And if it happens again, then I would patch her every 1 day and a half instead of every day. So there's an adaptation period. But I don't think there is a direct reason to the use of the pads. It's like what I was saying, suddenly this casual relationships that we do. And remember that the mind is very powerful. So people sometimes have a very specific idea that something is going to happen. Like, for example, in her case, that she didn't grow enough. And suddenly that might be her why of the rest of her life. And she wants to do something very quickly. And she starts seeing situations that somatize those symptoms, right? Yes, if she has a very special condition, and my interest is to have all the information for her to continue using the patches. And I am faithful knowing that she's going to have a noticeable improvement. Yes, that if she wears them enough time, she will definitely feel the results. You are very kind. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all for your questions. Manuel, Rossi, for always being there available. On the contrary, thank you. And you have them in the chats, so leverage that. We need to get organized. I will speak to Rachel so she can give us another opportunity of having this call at this time. So Manuel and Rosie can share their experience and their knowledge as doctors. But I always say that when you don't know what to say, you say X39. So that's what I do. The maximum that I take from apart from that is Aeon, because I understood that Dr. España, the pediatrician, said that the people who have or are very overweight or are going through an inflammation process, what Aeon does is that it allows for X39 to work faster and to see results and changes faster. They recommended during the day X39 and during the night ion. After that, since I'm not a doctor and I wouldn't be able to answer any of those questions, I would say X39. So don't complicate yourself. It's always good to know. I understand. And truthfully, I appreciate very much all the explanations. I know there are people that need to have more information than others, but don't get complicated. Ladies, gentlemen, X39, like Manuel and Rocio say, this person is a genius. And if he is saying that it's X39 because it's the one that is going to regenerate our stem cells, ladies, gentlemen, let's put on that X39 and let's not take longer talking about illnesses or diseases. Let's not focus on the illness. Let's focus on the regeneration that these patches are doing via phototherapy in our stem cells. So if you start from that foundation, the rest is extra. It's optional. So don't overcomplicate people for the business. Forget about the other patches. Forget about X39. Once people are in the business, we can give them all the explanation. We're going to access to training and Dr. España, et cetera, and they're going to tell you about the other patches. But we're focusing on X39, okay? I'm sending you a great kiss. And now we have a business presentation at 7, so we got to leave. If you invited somebody, run because Jay Adkins is going to be there. We have the best leaders in this team, ladies and gentlemen. So let's leverage this. I always leverage our leaders like I just did with Rocio and Manuel. If you don't know something, we can all be good in everything. Look, my husband and I share he is very good in closing people and the structure and the business and all that. I love and I enjoy events. Manuel and Rocio know about medication, so we are a complement as a team and we've got everything. Truthfully, we are blessed of having this opportunity in our hands to go out and share it. So don't let anything stop you. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening. Bye bye.